People always say family is everything. But what if the people you trust most turn out to be the ones who hurt you the deepest? My name is Emily, and this is the story of how I paid my parents $1,000 a week to help me with my daughter, and how they vanished without a word on the day she needed them most. I'm a single mom. My daughter, Lily, just turned 5. Smart, funny, the kind of kid who can make a stranger smile in seconds. After her dad left, I promised myself I'd give her a stable life, no matter what it took. So when my job offered me a promotion that required long hours, I thought, why not let my parents babysit? They'd always said, "We'll help you, sweetheart." Except help had a price. "We'll do it," Mom said, sipping her coffee across the kitchen table. "But it's a lot of work watching a child full time." I nodded, understanding. "Of course, Mom, I'll pay you. $1,000 a week." Dad raised an eyebrow. "Cash?" I laughed nervously. "Sure, whatever's easiest." They smiled, the kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes. And just like that, I thought I was building something beautiful with my family again. For months, it was perfect, or so I thought. Lily adored them. Every evening, I'd come home to find her giggling with my mom over cookies or watching cartoons with Dad. I'd hand them their envelope on Fridays, $1,000, exactly counted. They never asked for more, never complained. It felt safe until the week of Lily's birthday. I planned everything. Pink balloons, her favorite chocolate cake, a rented bounce house, even a small surprise visit from her classmates. But when the big day came, something felt off. Mom didn't answer my calls that morning. Dad's phone went straight to voicemail. I figured they were busy setting up decorations. They'd promised to handle everything while I was at work. When I pulled into the driveway that evening, my heart sank. The lights were off. No cars in the driveway, no balloons, no sound, no laughter, just silence. I ran inside. Lily was sitting alone at the kitchen table, still in her birthday dress, a half-deflated balloon tied to her wrist. "Mommy," she said, eyes watery, "Grandma and Grandpa never came back." My heart dropped. "What do you mean, never came back?" "They said they were going to get more candles," she whispered. "That was hours ago." I grabbed my phone and called. Nothing. Both numbers straight to voicemail. My hands were shaking as I called again, and again. Finally, I checked the security camera feed from my phone, and that's when I saw it. At 11:42 p.m., the camera caught my parents walking out of the house. They were smiling, carrying 2 of my suitcases, not grocery bags. Suitcases. My voice cracked as I whispered, "What the hell?" They loaded them into Dad's car and drove away like it was just another day. I felt sick. They had taken something. I didn't know what yet, but I could feel it in my gut. I opened my bedroom closet, and my chest tightened. The small fireproof box where I kept my savings, gone. $25,000. My parents had vanished with everything. Lily tugged on my sleeve, her voice barely a whisper. "Mommy, did I do something bad?" I knelt down, trying to hide my tears. "No, baby, you didn't do anything wrong." But inside, I was falling apart. Because deep down, I knew this wasn't a mistake. This was planned. I picked up my phone and started scrolling through old texts. The reminders, the payments, the promises. Everything suddenly looked different. And for the first time, I realized I didn't really know my parents anymore. Or maybe I never did. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the footage. My parents walking out with my suitcases, laughing. The people who raised me, smiling as they disappeared with my savings. By sunrise, I was done crying. I opened my laptop, pulled up the bank statements, and started going through every withdrawal and transfer I'd made to them. $1,000 a week. Cash. No record. Nothing I could trace. But there was one thing they didn't know. My old phone automatically backed up location data. I found their shared account still linked to my digital calendar. My mom's phone pinged an address 2 hours away, a place I didn't recognize. I grabbed my car keys, packed Lily's things, and called my friend Jenna to watch her for the day. "You sure you don't want to call the police?" she asked. "Not yet," I said. "I need to see where this leads first." The drive was long and silent. The road wound through empty farmland until a small coastal town came into view. Quiet, pretty, and too peaceful for what I was feeling inside. My parents' car wasn't hard to spot. Same blue sedan, parked near a rental cottage by the water. I pulled over a few houses down, heart racing. Through the front window, I saw them. Mom was arranging flowers on a counter. Dad carried groceries inside. They looked happy, like nothing had happened, like they hadn't left their granddaughter alone on her birthday. My hands trembled on the steering wheel. Part of me wanted to burst in and scream, but the other part, the one that had been paying attention all my life, knew to wait. I took out my phone and snapped a few photos. The car, the cottage number, their faces through the glass. Evidence. Not because I wanted revenge, but because I needed proof of what I was seeing. I walked closer, pretending to be on a call, and that's when I noticed a small sign near the door. Sandshore Real Estate. I dialed the number printed beneath it. "Hi," I said, keeping my voice calm. "Can you tell me who's renting the cottage at 118 Maple Row?" "Let me check," she said. "It's a month-to-month rental. Name on file is Daniel and Margaret Lane." I froze. Lane, my parents' last name. "They just moved in a week ago," she added cheerfully. "A week, right before Lily's birthday." I thanked her and hung up, my chest tight. They'd been planning this for weeks, maybe months. I opened my camera roll, zoomed in on one of the photos I'd taken through the window. On the kitchen table, beside the flowers, was a small stack of documents. I could just make out a logo, Retirement Investment Partners. My parents weren't hiding because of me. They were starting over with my money. I stepped back, heart pounding, mind spinning. I didn't know what hurt more, the betrayal or the realization that they'd turned me into the very thing they once taught me to avoid, someone too trusting. My phone buzzed. Jenna again. "Emily, are you okay?" I stared at the cottage one last time. "No," I whispered, "but I'm going to find out exactly why they did it." I hung up, got in my car, and started the engine. As I drove away, one thought burned in my mind. If they lied about this, what else have they been hiding all my life? I couldn't stop thinking about that cottage by the water. My parents had built a new life on the money I gave them to care for their granddaughter. Every mile back toward that town felt heavier than the last. By the time I reached the coast again, the sun was setting. The blue sedan was still parked in the same spot. I sat in the car for a moment, gripping the steering wheel, rehearsing what I'd say. No yelling, just the truth. Then I walked up the path and knocked. Mom opened the door, startled. "Emily?" she whispered. Dad appeared behind her, his face pale. For a second, no one spoke, just the sound of the ocean outside. "You left Lily alone," I said quietly. "You took my savings, and you think I wouldn't find you?" Dad looked away, Mom's eyes filled with tears, but not guilt, fear. "We didn't mean for it to happen like this," she said. "Then how did it happen?" I shot back. "You walked out with my suitcases. That doesn't just happen." Dad exhaled, long and slow. "We were drowning, Emily. The mortgage, the loans, everything. You have your job, your life. We thought—" I cut him off. "You thought you'd steal from your daughter?" My voice cracked. "You thought that was okay?" Mom's hand trembled as she reached for me. "It was just supposed to be temporary. We planned to pay you back once the investment came through." "What investment?" I demanded. She hesitated, then gestured toward the table. Papers were scattered across it. Contracts, emails, glossy brochures promising guaranteed returns. A man's smiling face was printed on every page. "He said it was safe," Dad murmured. "We believed him." My stomach turned. You got scammed. Silence filled the room. Dad sank into a chair, burying his face in his hands. Mom whispered, "We didn't know what else to do. We didn't want you to think we'd failed again." I felt my anger twisting into something colder, disbelief. "So instead, you failed me in a different way. You failed Lily." Mom sobbed quietly. "We thought if the deal worked, we could give you everything back. Double, maybe more." I shook my head. "You could have just told me. We could have figured it out together." Dad looked up, eyes red. "We didn't want you to see how desperate we were. Now I see it, and it hurts worse than anything you could have told me." The cottage suddenly felt smaller, filled with every memory of trust we'd ever shared. The birthday gifts they'd given me as a kid, the nights they told me honesty mattered most. All of it echoing like a cruel joke. "You can keep the money," I said finally, "but you don't get to keep pretending we're okay." Mom's lip quivered. "Emily, please." "I'm done," I whispered. "You chose greed over your own family. I can't fix that for you." I turned toward the door. Dad's voice followed me. "We just wanted a second chance." I paused, but didn't look back. "Then start over without hurting anyone else." Outside, the wind was sharp against my face. The ocean roared endless and cold, like it was carrying away every word we'd said. I sat in the car and finally let myself cry, not because I lost the money, but because I lost the people I thought my parents were. When I looked up, the cottage lights flickered off, and for the first time in my life, I drove away without saying goodbye. The next morning, the world looked the same, but I wasn't. Every sound, every breath felt different now that I knew the truth. Betrayal changes something in you. It makes you quieter, sharper. I drove straight home, picked up Lily, and held her close. She didn't ask about Grandma or Grandpa. Maybe she already understood that some people just stop being who you thought they were. I promised her, right there in the driveway, "You will never wonder if you're loved." She smiled and wrapped her arms around my neck. That hug was the only thing that felt real anymore. Over the next few weeks, I focused on rebuilding, one tiny piece at a time. I canceled the transfers, filed the report, talked to the bank, not because I expected the money back, but because I needed a record of what really happened. I wasn't their victim anymore. I was the witness. Some nights I'd stare at old photos of them, birthdays, graduations, holidays. It's strange how a picture can freeze a version of people that no longer exists. I used to think forgiveness meant pretending nothing happened. Now I know it's just choosing not to carry the weight forever. A letter arrived a month later. No return address, just my name written in my mother's careful handwriting. Inside was a single sheet of paper and a small photo of them standing by the ocean. The note said, "We're sorry. We lost more than money. We lost you. Please tell Lily we love her." I folded it back into the envelope. I didn't cry this time. I just whispered, "I hope you find peace," and placed it in a drawer I don't open anymore. Life moved forward. Promotions came, new routines formed, laughter filled the house again. Sometimes people ask why I'm so careful with trust. I tell them trust isn't about holding people close, it's about knowing who could break you and believing you'll survive if they do. On Lily's next birthday, the house was loud and messy and perfect. She blew out her candles, frosting on her cheeks, eyes shining. "What did you wish for?" I asked. She grinned, "That you'll always be happy, Mommy." And for the first time in a long time, I realized I already was. Because happiness isn't what people give you, it's what's left when they take everything else and you're still standing. Some stories don't end with revenge or rescue. Sometimes they end with silence, strength, and a woman who finally understands that family isn't defined by blood. It's defined by honesty and the courage to walk away when it's gone. This was my story. I paid the price for trust, but I earned something far more valuable: freedom.